Good morning, everyone. This is the second special session or fourth regular session, Monday, October 24th, 2022, approximately 8:29 p.m. here in the Senate chamber. I would like to call this session to order. And before we proceed, I would like to request everyone to please stand for a moment of silence. The chair recognizes the clerk to please call the roll.
Senator Cruz.
Here.
Senator De Jong Guerrero.
Here.
Senator Hopper. Mr. President.
Again, Gaigi.
Senator King Younger.
Here.
Senator Manglonya. Senator Pidua. Senator Sablan.
Gaga.
Senator Santos.
Here.
Mr. President, all 9 members are present.
With 9 members present, we have a quorum to conduct this session. Let the record reflect that Senator Santos is joining us via Zoom. With that, moving on item B under public comment. This is the portion of our session where we allow members of the public to deliver remarks or present any testimony with regards to any of the order of business for today's session. And when you do that, before you do that, state your name for the record. So the floor is now open.
Test. Buenas. Okay. Good morning, President of the Senate, Mr. Giraffe Snyder, and the rest of the Senate. I'm here in regards to the governor's message 22-265 and it's joint be listening have lost trust of our government, but instead you have listened to the governor once again, and this is pertaining to the this session again to conduct emergency session after you have acquitted him, not based on not based on criminal record, criminal.
Mr. Indelesio, I'm gonna
Yes,
cut you.
I know, I know.
You stay in the context of the
I
agenda.
will be, but I'm leading to it.
No,
Yeah,
you're already veering off.
It's next.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm gonna shut you off.
Today, emergency session is a concern, and that
It's not an emergency session. It's a special session.
special session or what? I'm against the October 31st. So let me finish. I'm a public.
Stay in the context of the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I came today to testify. A memo circulated in the media of 3 memo by the president of this that seems odd and disturbing. Not just this, but the people knows what is cooking again. Let me explain. First memo date October 19, 2022 informed Senate leaders that this will be a regular session schedule for Monday, October 21st, 2022 at 1 p.m. today for the Senate to attend. Strangely, a second memo dated October 21st, that was Friday, which is last Friday, stated that the regular session that was officially scheduled for today at 1 p.m. is hereby canceled. Then today, Sunday, a third memo was put out that a special session
Sarge,
scheduled for
may I request Mr. Indelesio dispensa los tamonoso. Thank you. You're done with your comment. Move on to the next one. Sarge, escort Mr. Indelesio to his seat. Believe me, I told you to stay within the context. You're finished, Mr. Indelesio. Members, 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 members. We're back in session. Anybody else in the public that would like to offer any comments within the context of the order of business for today's session? With that, Chair, the Chair would like to recognize the floor leader now. And I would like to direct our attention to item M of the order of business on the reports of standing committees. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under item M of our agenda, reports of standing committees, we have one standing committee, and that's Standing Committee Report number 22-91 from your Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigations, reporting on the executive reappointment of Ms. Geraldine C. De La Cruz to serve as a member of the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Mr. President and members, I
The
move for its
motion-
adoption.
And
Second.
for adoption, has been seconded. But before we take a call, I would like to request for a short recess. Okay, we're back in session, and before we take that quick recess, there was a standing question for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 2291, and it was seconded under discussion. Senator Cruz, the chairman
Thank you,
for EAGA.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, your Committee on Executive Appointment are ready to present Standing Committee Report number 22-91. And this is the executive appointment of Ms. Geraldine C. De La Cruz to serve as a member of the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Your Committee on Executive Appointments and Investigation, to which was referred the reappointment of Ms. Geraldine C. De La Cruz to continue serving on the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District, beg leave to report as follows. After review and consideration of testimonies provided, your committee recommends the confirmation of Ms. De La Cruz executive reappointment to continue serving on the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors to represent the 3rd Senatorial District. Pursuant to Rule 8, Section 5 of the Official Rules of the Senate, it is the duty and purpose of your committee to report to the Senate for legislative action pertaining to the executive reappointment of Ms. Geraldine C. De La Cruz to continue serving on the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors, representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Your committee has examined all pertinent documents relating to the executive appointment of Ms. De La Cruz over credentials to continue serving on the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors. In summation of all written and oral testimonies provided to the committee, there were 5 oral testimonies in support of the appointee, of which 2 hard copies of the testimony status were submitted on the date of the hearing, and no written or oral testimonies in opposition of the appointee. Additionally, your committee stated several recommendations, issues, and concerns to the appointee that are included in this report. And based on the over-assessment of Ms. De La Cruz's credentials, experiences, testimonies, goals for the agency, and other relevant issues considered, your committee is convinced that Ms. De La Cruz has the qualification and leadership skills necessary to continue serving on the Scholarship Board of Directors. The public hearing was conducted on October 19, 2022 at the Senate Chamber of the Honorable Sus P. Mafnas Memorial Building here at Capitol Hill, Saipan. And during the hearing, certain recommendations, issues, and concerns were raised for the appointee to address and look into when confirmed as a board member. And in conclusion, all the required documents in conformance with Rule 8, Section 5 of the Official Rules of the Senate have been submitted to your committee for review and consideration. And based on the submission of pertinent documents and testimonies, your committee concludes that the reappointment of Ms. Geraldine C. De La Cruz to serve or to continue serving as a member of the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors is in accordance with 3 CMC subsection 10103. Therefore, your committee consents the confirmation of Ms. Geraldine C. De La Cruz to continue serving on the CNMI Scholarship Board of Directors to represent the 3rd Senatorial District. Again, I ask the full members of this body to support Standing Committee Report number 22-91. Thank you, Mr. President.
Jesus Mossy, Senator Cruz. Any other member would like to offer comments with respect to this committee report? Geraldine De La Cruz for CNMI State Scholarship Office. Senator Edith, recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's really not a comment. Will she be coming up to the table here? No?
If there's no objection from the members, Ms. Geraldine, would you like to come up to the
Thank you.
the chair up here, and just so that we are in order, members, we're not under committee of the whole, so there's no question and answer in between the appointee and the members. Okay,
Right.
thank you. Please make note of that.
Morning, Jerry. Actually, I just don't have a question on the committee report, but I wanted to revisit back on this particular article that I did share with the confirmed nominee, Ms. Diana B. Hawcook, a while back, regarding an article that came out on September 20, 2021. It's titled Torres Announces Increase in CNMI Scholarship Awards. And it says the CNMI Scholarship Board met last Wednesday and voted on the increase in scholarship awards, which will be distributed in October. The board also voted to reinstate suspended programs, which allowed a maximum award of $2,100 per semester for traditional students at NMC, other colleges and universities, and $1,350 per semester for Northern Marianas Technical Institute students. Previously, the maximum award for students was $400 per semester. So I just want to share this with you again, and I'm always curious whether this particular benefits or awards was actually reinstated back to the students in those responsive semesters. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator De Leon Guerrero. Any other member would like to offer? Ready? Roll call. Clerk, please call the roll to adopt for the consideration of Standing Committee report.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hopper, Senator King Neighbor,
Hunggan.
Senator Mangonia, Senator Kiruba, Senator Sablan,
Hunggan.
Senator Santos,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Good.
Mr. President, 8 members voting yes, 1 absent.
With 8 members voting yes and 1 absent, the Standing Committee report number 22-91, reporting on the appointment of Ms. Geraldine de la Cruz to serve as a member of the CNMA Scholarship Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District of Saipan is hereby adopted, therefore confirming the renomination of Ms. de la Cruz to the board. Congratulations. I would like to request for a short recess before we convene to the rest of the items. We're back into our plenary session, and we disposed of item M on reports of standing committee. So I'd like to thank the members that are present for your support. And with that, without any objection from the members, I would like to move to view calendar under under item O. And at this time, I recognize the floor leader to offer the appropriate motion to entertain those resolutions that are on calendar today. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have several resolutions on calendar today. And first resolution is Senate Joint Resolution number 22-13, a Senate Joint Resolution to call for a joint session of the legislature to receive the Governor's State of the Commonwealth Address. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
There's a motion offered by the floor leader
Second.
for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution number 22-13 has been seconded. Discussion. Senator Victor Hokuk.
It's just a matter of concern, Mr. President. I understand that our counterpart is also having a session to adopt a joint Senate resolution to receive the governor's State of the Commonwealth Address, wherein I understand that they were calling and they're making the call for December 31st, and the Senate joint resolution is calling for the 31st. So I was just anxious to understand from at least our legal counsel to inform the members in the event that one house agrees on the date and the other house will not agree on the date, that this resolution that we're about to act is not in acceptance with our counterpart. So I just want to understand the rationale, what will comes along if there is no agreement between the two house of the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hokuk. Before I recognize the council to dig in more on the answer to Senator Hokuk's, I would like to just go on record to clarify some of the misconception of some of the chain of events with regards to this Senate joint resolution. When typical of a State of the Commonwealth address, usually the governor would advise the joint House presiding officers to call for a joint session, of which many of us know, even the viewing public, even the members of this legislature, that did not happen. And the moment that the governor started inviting members of the legislature and the public to a October 21st, there was a concern of which the legislature was not ably informed. So he rescheduled it. The governor rescheduled it, and in time submitted a letter to both the speaker and I, of which I took the opportunity to introduce a Senate joint resolution to attest to his call of an October 31st at Kensington. I pre-filed that on October 19. Then later on, I learned that our counter members of the House introduced on one different date, on a different, but pre-filed it on the 20th. So to the question of Senator Victor Hokuk, that is right now before us. But with the guidance of the legal counsels and the members, the leadership, we're going ahead to entertain this today for consideration. Now, as far as the question posed by Chairman Hokuk, I'm going to allow the council to articulate a little further on that. But I wanted to just clarify to the members of the public that no, we did not shoot off the hip, if I lack of a better term, to call this 8 o'clock. We pre-filed our session first. We pre-filed this Senate joint resolution first before the other house did theirs. So just to for clarifications, and I'm glad Mr. De La Torre is listening here, and everybody else, and the general public that are joining us. So with that, I'm sorry, Council, can you please guide us on the question posted by Chairman Hukuk?
Yes, President. Basically, this is a joint, the joint resolution needs to be adopted by both houses. In order to have a joint session, both houses have to adopt the resolution, and then the Senate President and the Speaker of the House have to jointly call for the session and the joint session and set the time and place. So if the Senate joint resolution is adopted by the Senate and not adopted by the House, then we cannot have a joint session.
Senator?
So that brings me to further concern, Mr. President and members, that in the event that the attempt for this joint resolution to call for the governor's delivery of his the State of the Commonwealth address fail, how can the legislature officially accept the governor's report before the legislature in a form of in the absence of verbal presentation? Is what I'm trying to get across here is a written report addressing the legislature regarding his State of the Commonwealth address is acceptable, and thereby meeting the requirement of his State of the Commonwealth address. And I'd like to ask the council for the response on that.
The Constitution requires the governor, this is Article, let me go back. Article 3, Section 9B of the Constitution. It says the governor shall report at least annually to the legislature regarding the affairs of the Commonwealth and new measures that are necessary or desirable. All it says is that the governor shall report at least annually to the legislature. It doesn't require an in-person report or a written report. So to your question, whether a written report would suffice, I would say yes, a written report to both the House and the Senate regarding the State of the Commonwealth would comply with the constitutional requirement. But the practice, just to let everyone know, the practice has been for the House and Senate or for the governor to request for a joint session to present the State of the Commonwealth address. The House and Senate, usually at that time, the governor does request a date and to have the SOCA. And then the House and the House and Senate will adopt a joint resolution adopted by introduced in either house, either the Senate or the House can introduce a joint resolution to call for a joint session. And then the joint session will convene at the place where the call is made, and then the governor will come and present his State of the Commonwealth address. That's usually the practice. But again, the Constitution doesn't require a written or in-person or verbal presentation of the report. So a written report will comply with the constitutional requirement, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah.
Jesus Masi, Chairman Hukuk. Any other member would like to offer comments? Recognize Senator Francisco Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a concern as well, no? Just to clarify the authority from the authority of the legislature versus the authority of the executive branch when the governor, based on the Constitution, to report annually to both houses. Does the legislature have the authority to tell the governor when that SOCA should be reported? Or the governor is the one that's setting the date and time when he should report annually that State of the Commonwealth address?
In the past, the governor would transmit a letter to the legislature, House and Senate, requesting a joint session at a specific date. Usually, he would already request a date. But again, a joint session is the purview of the legislature. So it would also, the date would depend on when the members of both houses are available. So in the past, both the House and Senate and the governor would talk about the date when everyone will be available. But back to your question, I remember, if I recall correctly, there are times when the SOCA date has been amended or changed based on the request of the House or Senate or the governor.
Thank you, Consul. And yes, the president have stated that this SOCA was requested by the governor to present earlier than October 31st, and the 31st was the second date. So you're right, and I just want to completely understand who has the authority to set date and time when the governor should present the SOCA. Because in my own opinion, if a person is reporting something, then he should set the date and time of that. And it's not in the Constitution that mandate us to set time and date. That's correct, right?
You're correct.
Thank you.
Recognize Senator Edith Leongero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad, actually, those other questions were also in my head, and thank you, Council, for your clarification this morning. But I'll carry on with another concern. I think although it's clear that the person that's going to deliver the State of the Commonwealth address obviously should be the one to set the time and the date. And one thing that was not specifically mentioned is location, and because in the interest of the public, and because SOCA is to discuss the State of the Commonwealth address, which is, we all agree and understand that this government belongs to the people. And oftentimes, the majority of our people are shy in going into a hotel facility to participate in a public function. I wouldn't think that SOCA is a private function, and therefore, I have concerns about choosing of the venue to deliver the SOCA. And though we have, we can do it on Facebook, on any source of communication platform, but I think on the greater good for the Commonwealth, and to not have the appearance of spending public funds negligently, that I believe the venue of the SOCA should be in a public facility. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Mr.
Senator
President.
Edith Leongero. Recognize Senator Santos. Dispensa sa malifazona gagiwagi Zoom. Recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because there's so much around the date, time, the SOCA, I highly suggest there's of both chambers, the House and Senate, meet these issues to facilitate the adoption of a joint resolution and jointly call for the session so we can receive the governor's SOCA. For now and for the record, I'm officially throwing my e-signature on Senate Joint Resolution 22-13. Thank you.
Senator Santos, may I ask you if you said that you e-signed the joint resolution and you approve of the context?
So I was requested by the clerk if I can e-sign the Senate Joint Resolution without being provided a copy of the Senate Joint Resolution. And so I went ahead and I responded to the clerk to check my e-signature from either Joanne or Secretary. However, again, Mr. President, because of all these issues, the date, for now, I would like to put on record officially withdrawing my e-signature on this Senate Joint Resolution 13. Thank you.
Jesus Masi, thanks for your clarification. Clerk, please make note of that Senator Santos signed the resolution without knowing the context, but then now she's withdrawing her signature because now she knows of the context of the resolution. Thank you, Senator Santos. Any other member? And before I entertain the call for this and I appreciate the members' patience, and I appreciate the dialogue, the conversation. But I also know that it's a very sensitive period in time for the Commonwealth, and I know that you can't even read it clearer than that. But let us remind ourselves that when there was a call prior to that joint call, everyone was throwing a fit that he's going at it alone. And I think the governor was just trying to provide more clarity of some of the state of our Commonwealth as far as where we're at today, irrespective of the date, because we've been flushing this through with the council that there's no statutory requirement as to the date. There's only a presentation to the joint the joint house, or the legislature for that matter. What I was gonna say, and unfortunately, the very member that I'm supposed to ask to sponsor a legislation is to come up with a legislation and designate a time during the month of every year. So it doesn't matter who the governor is, must report in a joint session. Because right now, it's very vague. Everybody wants to do it at a certain time. I'm referencing to this joint resolution we're about to act on. So I was gonna say the very member who no longer is in the Senate chamber, Senator Manglonia, since he's gonna be guaranteed a seat in the 23rd legislature, I was gonna ask him to sponsor a bill to designate a date during the year or a month. So it doesn't matter whose governor come in. There was a guidance as far as when to deliver the State of the Commonwealth address. Sometimes when we stir up issues like this, baseless issue and accusatory, this member was absent the whole time when the biggest responsibility of a member of the legislature, and thus the budget, out of touch, out of sight. Now he wants to be relevant with his joint resolution. Some of us here in the legislature are Monday morning quarterbacks when we become relevant after the game. So again, for the interest of the public, it's not about trying to exert whose Senate joint resolution. Our joint resolution should be greater than the other. It's about allowing for that platform for the chief executive to report to the full board as indicated by the Constitution and as indicated and guided by the legal counsel that there's no specific time and date. But the governor had actually asked on October 31st and the venue. And I'm surprised that some of us here in the legislature too, when there's other public functions that like graduation of our hardworking frontliners on some of these private areas, no one's complaining. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were over at PIC. We were doing it's a public event, but we're doing it at a private location. No one's complaining about public funds and all that. But when this thing comes up, now everybody's up in arms that we should do it here and we should do it. Folks, the early vote is going to start in a couple of weeks. And that's the reason why typically we're using it, the multipurpose center. And for some of us here in the legislature that have been serving, believe me, mark my word that if it's December 1st for a joint session after an election, good luck on having a quorum. Because almost half of us here are running. And there's no guarantee. Some of them are running for other seats. So again, for the interests of the general public, it doesn't matter what color you are, who you are, what party you are. Allow that one governor to report to us, whether you agree with him or not. Allow him. And some of us here are going to be back in the 23rd legislature, guaranteed. When man approve no legislation. Don't designa mo na time gisakan no report gi gobyerno. Masyal na gobyerno. Da basta nisti tagini na clause in exercise si joint resolution da timaafak. So for the members of the public that think that the Senate is doing this out of, for whatever reason, that one member of the Senate squawked yesterday, trying to become relevant, when in fact this is really a simple request by the governor to have a joint session to deliver the State of the Commonwealth address, which we all are responsible, not just him. We go out on social media and start accusing. I was hoping that Senator Manglona would come up with a legislation designating specific time of the year, today. But I encourage him to introduce a legislation to again, I can't emphasize it enough, so that we don't have to have this Senator Cook's concern of an impasse. So what happens after? So with that, and I thank you for your attention, and clerk, please call the roll for consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 2213.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hoku, Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kidwa, Senator Sablat,
Hungan.
Senator Santos,
Abstain.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, 7 members voting yes, 1 abstention, 1 absent.
with Senate members voting yes, Senate Joint Resolution number 22-13 is hereby adopted by this Senate. Let the record reflect that Senator Manglona is absent and Senator Santos abstain. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next resolution on resolution calendar is Senate Resolution number 22-27, a Senate resolution to acknowledge and honor Master Sergeant Nicole Adriano Cabrera for her devoted sacrifices for the CNMI and the entire nation as a member of the United States Air Force on occasion of being awarded the Bronze Star Medal. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Second.
There's been a motion offered by the floor leader for the adoption of 22-27, and it's been seconded. Discussion. Ready? Short recess. We're back in session, and before we take that brief recess, we were entertaining Ms. Cabrera's resolution. We're ready for the vote. I just want to say that I had an opportunity, or some of us have an opportunity, to watch via virtual the presentation of very prestigious and very important, distinguished accomplishment. No, and as I was listening to some of the revelations offered by some of his some of her fellow soldiers, they were so impressed with the way she carried herself in the battlefield. And it's unusual, we don't get a chance to see that often or hear that often, at least in my case. And coming from a small island of Tinian, that's pretty amazing. And I share the same sentiment with especially the people of Tinian and the members here, and of course the people of Commonwealth, for her bravery and her great service to our nation. So, clerk, please call the roll for the adoption.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker, Senator King Neighbor,
Hunggan.
Senator Kidua, Senator Sablan,
Hungan.
Senator Santos,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
with 8 members voting yes, Senate resolution number 22-27 is hereby adopted. Thank you, members. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last resolution on today's resolution calendar is Senate Resolution number 22-28, a Senate resolution to acknowledge and honor Mr. Adrian Yao Kiano for his esteemed services as a realtor and noble sacrifices as a member of the United States Marine Corps. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Second.
Then a motion offered by the floor leader for the adoption of Senate Resolution 22-28, and it's been seconded. Discussion? Ready? Oh, Senator Edith Leon Guerrero.
Not really a discussion, just for clarification on the realtor. Is that an ER or an OR? Correction, please.
It's realtor.
Realtor, right? With an OR?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bindi Tanu, no?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Okay, so members, I think the reason why I compelled to recognize this young man, number one, he served our country. Number two, coming up again from our small island of Tinian, he was able to excel as a realtor, and he was getting notoriety left and right in the Southern California, primarily San Diego area, and he's out for greater things. And we take pride in when you see our community members excel like this, and I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. And I want to thank him for allowing us to at least show this gesture of appreciation and recognition for his accomplishment. And for the most part, he is also a veteran, and he served our country admirably. So thank you, members, for your support of this resolution. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker, Senator King Neighbor,
Yes.
Senator Kidua, Senator Sablan,
Hungan.
Senator Santos,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
with 8 members voting yes, Senate Resolution number 22-28 is hereby adopted. And before we proceed on, and I ask the members to please refer over to item C under Senate Journal, and we want to dispose of that today. There's no objection from the members. Floor leader, I recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under item C, reading and approval of the journals, there's 2 journals for action. First is Senate Journal 22-30, second day, 4th regular session, dated September 23rd, 2022. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Been a motion offered by the floor leader for the adoption of Senate Journal 22-30, and it's been seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Senate Journal 22-30, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Senate Journal 22-30 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last journal is Senate Journal 22-31. First special fourth regular session, dated October 5th, 2022. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
There's been a motion offered by the floor leader on Senate Journal number 22-31 and it's been seconded. Discussion. Ready? All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Senate Journal 22-31, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Nothing follows. Messages from the governor.
We have three, Mr. President, 2262 to 2264.
Any comments? Communications from the judiciary.
None, Mr. President.
Communications from the heads of executive department.
None.
Communications from the House.
We have five on our agenda, 22-132 to 136.
Any member like to offer comment? Senator De Leon Guerrero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to discuss the House Communication number 22-133, which they overrode on the governor's veto of House Bill number 2280. Mr. President and colleagues, I had the opportunity to carry a conversation with Dr. Laura, and I understood the fees. So basically, it's really negligible, meaning it has no really relevant impact with respect to whether the Commonwealth will bear any substantial cost for the implementation of the program. The state assessment cost is only $10, and that is per licensed psychologist authorized to practice under SIPAC. Additionally, the travel, the CNMI member of SIPAC, the travel will be paid by SIPAC itself. But I do want to bring to the attention to the members that I attended the most recent State of the Education address. And it's very concerning when the Commission of Education shared the data of our students, our family in the communities. Mr. President and colleagues, it's very, very concerning. And we need to own up to this. And I hope that on my next motion that you will support me on it. Last year, as reported by the Commission of Education, 341 students were referred. 341 were referred for intervention and support. The universal screener showed that anxiety, stress, and depression is where our students are struggling the most. Mr. President and colleagues, this is serious. This is not a small number. Even one is too many. And so with that, Mr. President, I move that we override the governor's veto on House Bill number 22-80, and I ask for your full support this morning.
Second,
Senator De Leon Guerrero, I believe the floor leader, if we're in order, council, only the floor leader may offer that motion. That's correct. So we get your information, and I too supported this bill for your information, but allow us to discuss further as far as the magnitude of this legislation as well, as you indicated. And before I move further on the other items, I would like to call for just a brief recess. Okay, just a couple minutes. Okay, we're back in session, and before we took that break, Senator Edith De Leon Guerrero was referring her comments on House Bill or House Communication 22-133. And so, with that, the chair recognizes the floor leader to offer the appropriate motion to take action on this particular bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. In reference to, we are now on communications from the House, and in reference to House Communication number 22-33, which is titled an overrode the governor's veto of House Bill number 22-80 to have the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, CNMI, join the Psychological Interjurisdictional Compact, SIPAC, to improve and expand access to the mental health care in the CNMI. Mr. President and members, House Bill number 22-80 on August 29 was vetoed by the governor, and it was for the reasons that the authors of the bill did not include any information detailing what the estimated annual costs will be to administer SIPAC, nor any funding support via appropriation to support this annual financial commitment for the Commonwealth. After a lot of dialogue and also some letters that has been provided or sent to members, we now understand that there is no fee for the CNMI to be a part of SIPAC. In fact, there's no cost to the CNMI beyond a $10 state assessment fee for each licensed psychologist in the CNMI who chooses to be authorized under SIPAC. So I believe the concern of the governor is now taken care of with these communications, and this legislation was supported unanimously by this body, the 22nd Senate, and we do support the need for our students and people with mental health issues, and any program that would improve and expand the capacity of mental health professionals is of course a benefit for this Commonwealth. So with that said, I offer a motion to override the governor's veto of House Bill number 22-80. So moved.
There's a motion. Thank you, floor leader, for a motion to override the governor's veto on House Communication 22-33, reporting on House Bill 22-80. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Discussion? Any further discussion from the members? Senator Victor Hoku.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, when we acted on this bill, I think there was not enough information as to what the CNMI government will be impacted. And we all believe that the needs for the services, requiring our mental health assistance to assist